Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss Octopussy. Yes, that's the title of the movie. Starring Roger Moore, Louis Jordan, Maud Adams, Christina Wayborn, Caber Beatty, Desmond Lewis, Stephen Burkoff, Robert Brown, Lois Maxwell, and David Meyer, and directed by John Glenn. Now, before you get the wrong idea here, this is the James Bond movie, not some kind of porno or anything like that. So let's just get straight into this movie. We start at the military base, and James Bond, returned by Roger Moore, arrives there disguised as a general to plant a bomb on a machine until he gets caught, captured, and taken in for questioning until a woman named Karina gets James out of there. And James takes on a rocket car / airplane, and the chase between James and the missile until the missile hit the workstation and crashes with a safe landing. And that opening was kind of funny, but I wasn't connecting with this action, so unfortunately it doesn't really work for me. Meanwhile, a man dressed up as a clown is running away from two bad guys until he gets stabbed and he's in the water. And remind me, why is this in this movie? Because he crashed at the British ambassador's house, and next thing you know, Moneypenny has an assistant James crashes on. And that scene was very uncomfortable because Roger Moore has to be in his 50s in this age, and this girl looks a lot younger too, might I add. And that to me goes by as creepy. Combat General Orlov, played by Stephen Burkoff, who I know as Victor Maitland in Beverly Hills Cop, the first one, who's planning on starting off a war because of his paranoia. And I will always know him for Victor Maitland, and I think he'll be a bad guy in this movie because it's that obvious I didn't have to read a map. After admitting that he lost, James goes to India to go after government property that looks like a valuable gold ball, and that as a MacGuffin worked very well for me, but James follows a woman named Magda, who will lead to the movie's villain Kamal Khan, played by Louis Jordan, who will always roll a dice of double six, which sounds like a cheat, but James does beat him in one game, and Kamal is kind of a cheaty villain of any of the movies, and I don't like that, and we'll get a better villain like that when I get to the Daniel Craig version of Casino Royale. 30 to 40 minutes go by to the point this movie was boring me half to death. James finally meets Octopussy, played by Maud Adams, and she's really bad in this movie, and the pacing is really bad. This is going on for a little too long, and I think 30 to 40 minutes of it should be cut out in my opinion. I'm going to jump to 10 minutes later. James goes to Octopussy's circus, which was a good scene, I'll give it that. But Orlov is there, and that was predictable, particularly since Stephen Burkoff is the one playing, and I'll always recognize him as a villain in a movie, particularly a Bond movie, and it's not a very good sign. James finds an atomic bomb on a train, and Orlov confronts James, and James tells Orlov to stop the train, but he refuses, and James chases after the train, and that chase is so stupid. For example, James getting the car on the side of as he's driving it versus putting the wheels on the car on the train tracks. And I've seen that before, but James jumps on the next train and crashes the car, which very preposterous. Orlov dies, and that was again preposterous. James is on top of the train, and as Khan's men plant the bomb and will explode at 3:45 p.m., and with many innocent people on the train, there's a top of the train fight, which reminded me of the train fight in the Wolverine, but slower. And James kills one of the bad guy henchmen and goes to a parade where people are watching the parade, and this is kind of a stupid climax at this point, as James hitchhikes for a ride and still a rude lady's car is being chased by the cops without pulling over, and Roger Moore probably needs to move on from the role of James Bond at this point. James has 5 minutes until the bomb goes off when he arrives to the circus, and dresses up as a clown, warns the general about the bomb and the circus, and James pulls off the bomb in time, and nobody dies, but the bad guys are taken down by James and Octopussy with the circus, and the movie is done. At this point, I was happy to turn it off. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 2.6 out of 10. Roger Moore really needs to move on from this character. The movie is preposterously stupid and way too long, and I got bored, and it was very predictable. 30 to 40 minutes of this should have been cut out of the movie. The action was not connecting to me, and I'm not sure how much Roger Moore could take it at this point. But seriously, he needs to move on from the character, even though he was trying to. I'll talk about why in next week. So I would like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with Never Say Never Again. And until then, the name's Bond. James Bond.